Can Zhen Huan, blessed with both beauty and talent, truly outshine all in the imperial harem and enjoy everlasting favor? The next morning I got up early to dress and do my hair. Huan Bai helped me arrange my hair bun and picked out a pearl lotus step-shake hairpin from the wooden tray filled with jewelry. The long strands of crushed jade and pearls were inlaid into blooming lotus flowers, with yellow jade as the pistil and green crystal as the leaves, exquisitely crafted. Just as Huan Bai was about to place it in my hair, I shook my head. Step shakes are originally meant for imperial consorts and above. It was already an exceptional favor from the emperor to bestow one upon me last time. Today, without any festival or banquet, it would be too ostentatious. Though the emperor favors me, I must not overstep my bounds. Huan Bai had no choice but to set it aside and chose a butterfly flower tassel silver hairpin instead, saying, "Miss is being too cautious. The emperor's favor towards you surpasses that towards consort and yet she flaunts herself with jewelry every day without concern." I observed Huan Bai's expression in the mirror and smiled. Even if consort and adorns herself with pearls and jewels, she doesn't exceed her station. An occasional luxurious ornament doesn't matter. After a pause, I slightly restrained my smile. Let's not speak of this anymore. It would seem as if I cannot bear to see consort and favored if someone who likes to stir trouble hears this. Huan Bai acknowledged with a yes, but still seemed unconvinced and muttered quietly, "She's not the most beautiful, nor does she come from a notable family. Why does the emperor like her so much? Just because of her singing voice." As I outlined my willow leaf eyebrows in the mirror, I said slowly, "Receiving grace isn't about looks or family background, but whether the emperor likes you or not. Otherwise, it's all in vain." I glanced at her and added, "Why are you so impulsive in your speech today? Being cautious and appropriate is your strength. Hold on to it and don't lose it." Huan Bai pursed her lips and smiled without continuing, only saying, "The emperor has already ordered to have breakfast with you. Miss should dress more brightly." I looked back at her and saw her wearing a cherry-colored soft luopipa dress with a snow-white glossy satin lining, a light pearlescent pink long skirt, a pair of misty green shoes peeking out from her dress, her hair adorned with blue and green beaded silver flowers, and a pair of crushed jade gold earrings perfectly complementing her sleek black hair and lovely face, adding a touch of charm to her delicate beauty. On closer inspection, I found something amiss but deliberately did not remind her, simply smiling subtly. "You're quite brightly dressed today." Huan Bai just smiled. Did Miss forget? Today marks 1 year since Miss entered the palace, so I dressed more festively. She added, "These clothes were made new for me by Miss last month. They fit very well." It then dawned on me that it had already been a year since I entered the palace. Time flies indeed. In the blink of an eye, I had gone from an obscure noble lady to a favored consort by the emperor's side. Time flowed through my fingers like water, bringing the emperor's favor but also adding countless sharp and twisting thoughts, growing thorny at the tip of my heart. The peace and tranquility I once had were long gone. I sighed almost inaudibly. Lu Zhu joined in. No wonder the emperor came over early to have breakfast with Mississippi. It turns out it's the anniversary of Miss entering the palace. Perhaps he'll have lunch and dinner here too. "I suppose it's fine for the meal," I said. "But I'm just worried." "What is Miss worried about?" Lu Zhu asked. "It's nothing." I didn't want to continue on the subject, so I simply said, "Go check on the small dishes in the small kitchen. I've instructed them to make everything delicate and delicious." As we were speaking, Xianling came in and said, "I've just finished with the morning court. I'm hungry too. Today we have excellent wind-dried musang fruit, which I've already had sent to your small kitchen. I asked them to serve it with porridge so we can enjoy it together." Jinshi quickly set the table and then served Xianling a bowl of fresh soy milk. I sat down with him. Soon the small kitchen brought over fine white rice porridge, 8 small dishes including mixed vegetables, marinated chicken breast, pickled quail, crispy pickled cucumber, rouge goose liver, fried spring rolls, fragrant smoked radish, wind-dried musang fruit, plum blossom tofu, and stir-fried wolfberry shoots, accompanied by 4 kinds of pastries, making a full table. Xianling looked at the dishes and said, "They're very delicate. Just looking at them whets the appetite." I smiled serenely. "I'm glad your majesty likes them." Seeing that he was in a good mood and had a good appetite, with many dishes being tried, I smiled and asked, "Your Majesty seems to be in a good mood. Is there some good news?" He was slightly startled before smiling. The Southwestern War has been a succession of victories. Prince Runan has recaptured Anzhou and Yobin's 6 states with the army. The Murong family has contributed significantly. My lips had been curved in a pleased smile, but hearing this, a slight chill grew within me, feeling that what he was about to say wasn't just this, and it must involve Consort Hua. So I lifted my half-finished bowl of porridge in a gesture of celebration and said, "Your Majesty is truly wise and brilliant, a cause for great celebration. I toast you with this porridge." With that, I scooped up a spoonful of porridge, drank it, and offered him a radiant smile. He grabbed my hand, unable to suppress a laugh. "This little rascal, thinking you can escape drinking wine this way?" I met his gaze with a light smile, whispering, "Your Majesty must not force one's hand." After a laugh, he indeed brought up the topic he meant to discuss. Before speaking, he deliberately observed my expression, his deep eyes flickering with a hint of reluctance and guilt. "Now that we've returned to Zhao City and just finished with the Mid-Autumn Festival, with many matters requiring attention, the Empress may be overwhelmed. My intention is to have Consort Hua assist her. What do you think?" His words were soft and slow, as if afraid to startle me, yet they pierced my heart, gently yet sharply. I was slightly taken aback, as if I couldn't believe it. It had only been a few days since the incident with Emperor's daughter Wen Yi, and he knew Consort Hua couldn't be cleared of suspicion, yet he came to me to discuss restoring her to assist in managing the harem. It wasn't that I couldn't understand his difficulties with state affairs, but his intentions were deeply disheartening. He was looking for a trace of displeasure or anger in my serene face. I struggled to keep such expressions off my cheeks, smiling as if I was earnestly listening to his words. I thought to myself, even I am displeased and shocked by this. I wonder what the Empress would feel upon hearing it. My gaze sharply swept across his face, and in an instant I had turned away, evened my breathing, and suppressed the tears and outrage. Then I smiled at him and asked, "What does the Empress think?" Xianling's tone became a bit stiff. "I haven't spoken to the Empress yet. I wanted to ask your opinion first." I smiled lightly and said, "If Majesty is considering the Empress's well-being, then naturally, there's nothing wrong with that." He quickly responded, "Consort Hua can indeed be impulsive at times. I originally intended to rely on you, but you have not been in the palace long enough and lack seniority. Consort Duan is frail, and Consort K is mediocre and cowardly, leaving only Consort Hua capable of providing some assistance." Xianling's gaze was gentle, carrying a hint of apology. With my face still bearing a slight smile, I hid the tumultuous feelings of grievance and resentment. After pondering for a moment, I slowly said, "Your Majesty's intentions are good, and the Empress will likely have no objections. However, have you considered that with the Murong family's recent victory at the front lines, restoring Consort Hua's authority over the 6 palaces immediately might lead those in the know to praise your Majesty for valuing capable generals and ministers, while those not in the know might ignore your Majesty's wise command, and instead speculate that your Majesty is eager to use Consort Hua to curry favor with the Murong family because of their military achievements. Knowing that emperors dread being deemed redundant or overshadowed by their subjects' merits, I hoped this pointed remark would be effective." I carefully watched his expression change and continued, "There are always some who love to gossip behind others' backs. Your Majesty should not take it to heart." I paused briefly, noting a faint hint of anger in his brows, then continued, "However, with Prince Runan achieving great honors, he must be overjoyed at this moment. Given the deep connections between Prince Runan and the Murong family, if your Majesty grants authority to Consort Hua now, Prince Runan might become overconfident and act rashly, potentially jeopardizing the war effort." His eyes slightly closed, his expression calm like still water, yet hidden waves seemed to stir within. My words had struck a chord, I knew. I quickly knelt down, tears falling, and said, "In a moment of folly, I dared to discuss state affairs. I beg your Majesty's forgiveness." With that, I bowed my head to the ground. As I knelt, all the maids and eunuchs in the room were startled into kneeling as well. The sound of the dripping water clock seemed to strike my heart, marking the passage of time in the silent room. He helped me up, saying, "It's all right. I've always allowed you to discuss politics." He then sighed. "I fear that aside from you, no one in this palace dares to analyze the pros and cons with me so directly." I brought tears to my eyes, stubbornly refusing to let them fall, and said, "Today, I did not speak out of jealousy towards Consort Hua. Instead, I hope your majesty can weigh the pros and cons and consider delaying the restoration of her authority to manage the 6 palaces. First, to quell public speculation, second, to preserve your majesty's imperial majesty, and third, to wait for a festival to confer the title, which would be just and cause for celebration throughout the 6 palaces." I had already carefully considered this. After the Mid-Autumn Festival, the next major festival would be the Lunar New Year, which is not an appropriate time for conferring titles, so it would have to wait until the Lantern Festival. Who knows what the situation would be like by then, but avoiding this immediate issue and planning slowly was the priority. Xianling looked at me, his eyes showing a ripple of emotion and a hint of warmth. After a moment of deep thought, he said, "It's hard on you to have thought everything through so thoroughly. This is good, but it's hard on the Empress." I responded, "Your Majesty need not worry about the Empress. She is well versed in the affairs of the 6 palaces and has the assistance of the female historians. I'm sure there won't be any issues. Your Majesty can be at ease." Seeing his nod of approval, I ventured further, saying, "Actually, when Shan Chongzai was still Consort Hui, your Majesty had intentions of having her learn the affairs of the 6 palaces to assist the Empress with the trivial matters in the future. It's a pity now." Mentioning her, Xianling seemed somewhat displeased and simply remarked, "It's best for her to focus on cultivating her virtues in peace." I deemed it inappropriate to continue on the subject. Noticing that he hadn't resumed eating for a while, I was about to instruct Pear to serve a cup of almond tea, when Huan Bai, quick to react, had already placed a cup of tea before Xianling, softly saying, "Your Majesty, please enjoy the tea." Surprised and suddenly feeling a chill, I realized she had indeed made her move forward. Huan Bai's hands holding the celadone teacup appeared even whiter, prompting Xianling to look up at her and smile faintly. Dressed prettily, but the red dress and green shoes are somewhat common. Huan Bai was visibly embarrassed, her face flushing red as she stammered, "My name is Huan Bai, hence the green shoes." I understood that Huan Bai wanted to catch Xianling's attention by choosing colorful clothes and specifically pairing them with green shoes, but she had forgotten that the combination of red and green was considered tacky. Feeling somewhat smug, I then gently said, "Never mind. I've recently chosen a piece of lake blue silk that you can use to make a new dress to replace this red one." Then, addressing everyone, I said, "The dishes prepared by the small kitchen today were excellent. You all should take some to enjoy as well." Everyone thanked me in unison, and with a red face, Huan Bai bowed and withdrew. Xianling didn't look at her again and commented, "You are quite kind to your servants. They work hard as servants and maids in the palace. If I'm not kind to them, it would be too pitiful. If the servants harbor resentment, the tasks we assign won't be well executed, which benefits neither us nor them." I replied with a cheerful smile, sharing my genuine thoughts. "Besides, it's just a piece of silk. Huan Bai is a maid who came with my dowry, and I plan to find her a good match in the future. What do you think, Your Majesty?" Xianling said, "It's your maid, so you should handle it as you see fit. It's thoughtful of you to care for them like this." He then looked at me with a smile and said, "Seeing how you're so compassionate and know how to manage those below you, I really should have you assist in managing the 6 palaces." I maintained a polite smile and replied, "I'm inexperienced and unfit to lead, Your Majesty jests." Lowering my voice, I whispered teasingly in his ear, "The phrase caring for them sounds so mushy. Am I not caring enough towards Your Majesty?" My heart felt slightly sour as I forced a smile and added, "Consort Hua's family, the Murongs, have made great contributions. It would be good for Your Majesty to spend more time with her." He, however, said, "It's difficult even to find time to be with you. With the war victory, there are many matters to arrange, and I fear I won't be able to leave the imperial study for some days." My heart eased slightly as I responded, "Your Majesty, you work hard for the state affairs. Please take good care of your health." The meal was laborious, and even the rouge goose liver tasted bitter in my mouth, but I couldn't let my emotions show in front of Xianling otherwise. Any scheming would be in vain, as acting impulsively over minor irritations could lead to greater losses. I could only display a virtuous and gentle demeanor, serving him dishes and engaging in light conversation. I knew all too well how arduous it is to maintain a reputation for virtue in the palace, where one can't even express the slightest grievance or sorrow. I couldn't help but admire the Empress's resilience. Despite consort Hua seemingly having the upper hand, the Empress hardly ever showed her emotions, always maintaining a calm demeanor. Beneath that calm, however, lay immense sorrow and bitterness, honed and solidified into indifference through endless cold moonlit nights. As I was lost in thought, Xianling placed some stir-fried wolfberry shoots into my bowl, and gently said with a smile, "This tastes good, try some." I thanked him with a smile, looking at the few wolfberry shoots in my bowl, feeling a turmoil of emotions as if a jar of mixed flavors had been overturned, indescribably uncomfortable. It was as if I were those wolfberry shoots, stir-fried in oil, marinated in salt, and after much tossing finally seasoned, placed in this finely carved celadone bowl adorned with flower and animal patterns, presenting an image of being exactly where I should be. After the breakfast, which felt like an ordeal, was finally over, Li Chang reported that the ministers from the cabinet had been waiting in the Yuan Hall Imperial study for a long time. Seeing him hurry off, I composed myself before returning to Xian Hall, slowly entering the western chamber.
Follow us to avoid getting lost and enjoy endless exciting stories. For more content, please go to the Story Wall homepage to view more exciting novels.